Hi everybody, this is Paul B. It's 2 days before Christmas 2015 and it's snowing, which I didn't expect. My new home here doesn't start much of the time, and now the engine's knocking. Last time I heard that sound I needed a whole valve job. It was like a $1,500 job. I had to sit in Los Angeles for a month waiting for them to fix that. If that's the case here, I'm doomed. I don't have $1,500. I don't have $15. I don't have anything. If this car dies, I just have to leave it behind and start walking in a Minnesota winter, walking to nowhere with nothing for no purpose. So this is where I'm at. Just tell you a couple brief stories. Last night when I was parked, these guys pulled in next to me. Nice shiny little clown car, those kinds that you would only buy if you saw them on TV. Because if you didn't see it on TV and was told that it was cool, and you looked at it in the real world, you'd go like, "What the? Who would buy a piece of crap like that?" You know, one of those pulled in. It was a couple young kids, 18, 20 years old, and they immediately just firing up the pipe. You know, meth, crack, I don't know what it was, but they just started. I was just sitting here in horror. And they just started freaking out over time. They just started, clawing at the ceiling and moving around. And the one guy facing me, like, puts his face up against the glass really hard and just opens his mouth. And it's just like a horror show. And I'm just sitting here thinking, there's a 50-50 chance if I turn this key, this car won't even start. And it'll just go click, 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 click. Am I supposed to ask those guys to help me get started again? So I have to just sit there and take that stuff. But that's how my life is now. That's what my life is now, all the time. There's nothing unique about that. Having junkies around me, having people trying to get into my car, messing with me. I mean, if someone sees me sleeping in the car, they'll walk up and knock on the window, to which, again, because I don't know if my car will even start anymore, I don't want to let them know that by trying it and having it not start. So I open the window. I crack the window a little bit, and they're asking me for money. They're asking me for money. What? I mean, I'm sleeping in a car and they're asking me for money. And you know what I mean when I say that. They're not asking me for money. They are homeless. They recognize my situation. They understand the power position they have when they stand outside, possibly with a gun, and they ask another homeless person for money. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I think people who live in homes don't quite understand that I have to deal with. Okay, when I'm standing here and there's some thug outside asking me for money, and I don't know if I can get away because my car doesn't start half the time. I don't know if they're armed. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if there's somebody who's already let the air out of my tires while I was sleeping. I don't know what's going on. And yet I have no money to give. I can't even fall for that ploy because I have nothing to give them. Okay, that's happened twice. I don't know how I'm supposed to deal with this stuff all by myself, but I'm getting help from nobody except for some token gestures. And I do want to give kudos for one of those, which was a very nice gesture, because I went to a Catholic church and I went in with a theological question. I wasn't very good at framing it, unfortunately, but the priest heard me. I'm not Catholic, so the priest listened to me. It was very gracious, and they ended up putting me in a hotel for a night, where I got a night's sleep where I didn't have to worry about this, and I got the first shower I've had in a month, or 3 weeks or a month, which was absolutely wonderful. I'm sure everyone around me appreciates that as much as I do. I wasn't asking for anything. I wasn't expecting anything. I've given up on asking people for anything at this point. So I'm very grateful that they did that. There are occasional gestures that mean a lot to me, and I don't ever want to disparage that. I'm very grateful to that church for them doing that. But it doesn't end my situation. That's a different story than if they say, well, we're going to call all the other Catholic churches and we're going to mobilize a fund drive, and if every family and every congregation gives 1 quarter, one little coin, every family, not every person, but every family gives one coin, you'll have the $3,000 to $5,000 you need to get out of this state, get an apartment, get a job, and get reestablished. You'll still have lost everything you had, everything you worked for 48 years, gone forever. It's too late. That's already gone. But at least you could restore yourself there. But nobody has done that for me. Nobody's even suggested, or they won't even entertain the suggestion. I don't know why, because it would work and it wouldn't cost anybody more than a quarter, but you know, well, I do know why. It's because Minnesota nice is a myth. They don't care if I live or die, basically. As a rule, as a big rule. There are occasional things like someone will give me a free sandwich, or in this case put me up for a night in a hotel, which I will do have nothing bad to say about those people for doing that. That was very generous. I wasn't even asking for it. But again, with 5 million people who claim to be the nicest, kindest, most generous, most charitable, most compassionate people in the world, to the point where they look their nose down at everyone else, you would think they would have, could have, should have, and just plain would have by now done what it takes to restore me. But they've done nothing. So when I say nothing, that's what I'm talking about. Anyway, that's my situation. I wanted to, before the light goes completely out here, and I gotta get some heat going anyway because I'm starting to freeze up again. I had a message for the people who put me in this situation, which would be my loud and violent neighbors who tortured, tormented, terrorized me inside my own home for 3 years without remorse, without repentance, without they didn't care. It was all about them, you know. Even when I asked them to not do it, they didn't stop. They just kept doing it. So this message is for them. It's also for my former landlord, the guy who did not enforce his lease when it benefited me, such as the part about not harassing your neighbors with loud and violent noise. Although he did enforce the same lease when it came to things that affected him, like, you know, did you pay your rent? And by the way, I paid my rent for 8 years on time, all the time. I was a very, very good tenant. I was a dream tenant. The only problem is he was not a dream landlord. If he was, he would have nipped this noise problem in the bud, and I would not have had happen to me what happened to me. I would not be sleeping in a car here for Christmas. New Brighton, Minnesota City Council. New Brighton, Minnesota Code Enforcement Officer who didn't return my calls. City Council who did nothing but send me to the police. The New Brighton Police Department, they call themselves a Department of Public Safety. I can't do that. I can't do that. Too many people being served and protected by them end up homeless or dead. They are the New Brighton, Minnesota Police Department. I am not going to call them a Department of Public Safety. This message is for them. Oh, I'm sorry. Award-winning New Brighton, Minnesota Department of Public Safety. I'm stripping them of their award, and I'm stripping them of the title of having anything whatsoever to do with public safety. If they had done their job, I would not be sleeping in a car with crackheads all around me right now. End of story. Period. End of story. But they didn't do their job, did they? No, they didn't. HomeLine, the state-funded free legal service for people in my situation who said they get back to people usually within 1 business day. That was approximately 360 business days ago. Not business days, I'm sorry, 360 days ago. Do the math, I don't know how many business days there were, but it's been a year and they haven't gotten back to me yet. This message is for them, including their officer. I looked up who their officers are. Their head honcho is an attorney. Now I found some of the stuff he wrote on the internet, and if you didn't know who it was, you would think it's some like 15-year-old kid. Anyone who disagrees with him, he just calls them, "You're a moron! You're a stupid moron!" And this is an attorney who's running a nonprofit organization that receives state funding. But that's Minnesota. That's what I've been trying to tell people all along. These people are not there. They're not there. My state legislator, Carolyn Lane, who, when I asked her to light a fire under HomeLine so that they would serve me, do what their charter says they will do with the money they got from my tax dollars and everyone else's tax dollars, or pull their funding, she did neither. She did nothing. Anyway, all these people, there's so many, how can I even list it? Over 3 years, not one Meannesotan fulfilled their professional responsibilities, their legal responsibilities, and frankly, their moral responsibilities either. This message is to all those people who cost me my life. They've already cost me the material things, all my money. I mean, I'm so scared to add up the amount of money I've lost. I quit at $100,000, but that was including lost wages. But because I don't want to throw out false numbers, maybe someday I will add it up, but what's the point? It hurts too much. I will just say that in my mind, it nears $250,000, but I don't want to even throw out numbers right now. If it's only $100,000, that's still everything I had, and it's still gone forever. And you know, I had my first job when I was 13, pulling weeds in the onion field. Didn't last long, but it was, you know, it was what it was. I'm 48 now. I'm not going to get this stuff back. They have cost me everything that is my life, the only life I will ever live in this world. They've taken it away because they either attacked me by the loud and violent noise or by blaming the victim like my landlord did and the police did. You know, these people are the reason I'm in the situation I'm in. I did everything right. I did everything by the book. I followed the chain of command exactly like you're supposed to do. It's because nobody in that chain of command did anything is the reason I'm sleeping in a car here over Christmas. If I can even stay in this car, if the engine still works. While those people are enjoying a nice Christmas with their families in their warm homes. So this message is just for all of those people. My neighbors, landlord, code enforcement officer in New Brighton City Council, the New Brighton Police Department, not a public, nothing to do with public safety, police department, HomeLine and its 15-year-old attorney who runs the thing, Carolyn Lane, geez, I don't even want to list all the people. My former employer, the management there, who are among the most vomitous creatures I've ever encountered in my travels, and frankly my co-workers who I stuck my neck out for and they sat there and watched it get cut off. This message is to all of those people on this holiday season 2015. The message is this: I'm doing my damnedest to find some way to forgive you, even though you don't deserve it. And to the extent that I'm able to say this with any sincerity at all, to people who I regard as the equivalent of a murderer, because I'm dying. To the extent that I can say this sincerely at all to you people, Merry Christmas.